about forgiveness and why it is an inside job. Before we get into the topic in details, I would like to share a story. It's about two monks. This is one of my favorite stories. On okay, let's hear the story first. So it's about two monks who were walking down the road, and they came across a muddy stream crossing, shallow but a muddy stream crossing. And what happened is that they saw a young lady standing there, well dressed lady standing there on their side of the crossing, and she was unable to cross. She had a lot of bags, etc. So she didn't ask, she demanded them that, why don't you help me with this? Why don't you just help me cross the stream? Pick me up and help me cross the stream. So the two monks, the older one, the wiser one, he picked her up, put her on his shoulders, carried her across the stream, and put her down there. And they went on their way. She sort of got down and just left without a word of thank you or any kind of acknowledgement. So they kept walking, the two monks, the younger and the older monk, and for the rest of the day till they reached their destination. Till the younger monk could not hold it in any longer, and he asked the older one that, how could you let this happen? How could you touch a woman? You're not supposed to be touching her. You broke the rules, and even after you helped her, she didn't even thank you. She didn't even look back. She didn't even acknowledge what you did for her. So to which the older monk replied, I left her there many hours ago. I put her down many hours ago. Why are you still carrying her? Right? So I think this story sort of sums up many things that we carry with us, especially grudges, regrets, and today I'm talking about specific case of forgiveness. Things that we need to let go of, we tend to carry with us, and it becomes heavier and heavier as time goes on. So that's the aspect that I'm focusing on, and in that, what I'm focusing on today is forgiveness, forgiving yourself. So self forgiveness, because I find that that is again further an aspect of forgiveness that most of us struggle with the most. While we might have a hard time forgiving others for any kind of pain or hurt that they would have caused us, we sometimes find it even more difficult to forgive ourselves for similar transgressions. So that's something that I'm just sort of looking at, talking about today. So the first thing that I wanted to share with you is that there is a close association between self-compassion and self-forgiveness, right? So it's the way you talk to yourself, the words that you choose, the actions that you take. So think about this. If you had a friend who was in trouble and who was going through a rough patch, think about the way and the word, in a way that you would be talking to that friend, how you would be consoling that friend, and what words you would be using. And if you and like the mistakes that the friend might have made and that has caused the suffering, and then compare that to the way that you talk to yourself and the way that you deal with yourself, the words that you use for yourself when you are have made a similar mistake, and see if there is any difference in that. Do you criticize yourself? Do you judge yourself more harshly? And many times we do that. Why is that? Right? So just understanding that what makes us do that, and does it really help you to do that? So can you be the friend to yourself that you would be to somebody else in pain? So that's the first thing. So there is a association between self forgiveness and self compassion, and simply because we make mistakes all the time, right? We make mistakes and we need to forgive ourselves, and we need to be show ourselves some compassion and understanding while we do that. The second thing that I wanted to sort of bring about here is that our personal stories, like the stories that we tell ourselves, right, which lead us down the road of shame and blame, instead of helping us move through this, instead of helping us find out whether it's true or not, the stories that we tell ourselves, right, the beliefs that we have, whether it's true, whether it's serving us, we tend to get stuck in the shame and the blame. But it's only when you become aware of that, then you can move through and move towards forgiveness and compassion and understanding. So that's the second thing that I wanted to mention, that what is your personal story? And it all starts with naming and taming your emotions. So accepting all your feelings, right, without judgment, and it helps to name them. So understanding what you're feeling and just naming it, that I am feeling hurt, I am feeling upset, angry, disappointed, sad. So whatever the case might be. So naming and taming your feeling becomes really important. It helps us to move through these difficult emotions. So it's always going to be an inside job, and that's exactly the reason I said forgiveness is an inside job, right? And the third thing is that we need to choose and to release the past. Like it's a choice that we make and forgive, and then we need to choose to be willing to release the past and forgive everyone, including ourselves, right? So the first one that I mentioned was that there is a close association between self-compassion and self-forgiveness. So, how do you treat a friend vis-a-vis how you treat yourself when you make a mistake or when you're feeling low or, something bad has happened. So that's keeping in mind, right? So the first thing is that. The second is what are the personal stories that you tell yourself? And do you know how to name and tame your emotions, especially the difficult ones? Because that's where your power lies. It helps you to move through them. It helps you to move through and shift from shame and blame and move towards forgiveness and compassion and grow beyond that. And lastly, is that we need to choose to release and let go of the past, right? Whatever mistakes have happened, whatever has happened in the past, and forgive. And that's where the forgiveness lies. That's where the strength, that is where typically we find the strength to forgive everyone, most importantly, ourselves. And we are willing, that we are willing to forgive actually starts the healing process. Okay, so that's where the healing actually starts. So it all starts with the choice that you make today. And we can use a phrase by Louise Hay. If you have heard of her, she has an amazing book called You Can Heal Your Life. So there are a lot of affirmations in the book, so you can check it out. It's one of my favorite books of figuring out how to heal your life, where mind and body are intricately connected. And in my coaching practice with my clients, where I see this a lot, where we tend to find it most difficult to forgive ourselves for any mistakes, for our imperfections, right, that we all have. Um, um, Becoming aware of these things, affirmations, etc., can really help. So I use these a lot for myself and in my sessions. So one of the phrases that you can choose to use is that I forgive you for not being the way I wanted you to be. I forgive you and set you free. I love this particular phrase that I came across in that book. So, from You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And this particular phrase you can use for yourself as well. So, if you're struggling to find a way to go past your own mistakes, your own failings, your own imperfections, whatever they may be, however bad they may be, uh, choosing and be willing to forgive yourself and letting go of the past can be a start to the healing process. And once again, I would like to repeat the phrase that you can use. I forgive you for not being the way I wanted you to be. I forgive you and set you free. I think that's a beautiful way that you can sort of speak to yourself with a lot of love and compassion and understanding. So once again, I shared with you the story of the two moms, right? So we need to let go of the past rather than carrying it on our shoulders all the time, because the questions that you will ultimately need to ask yourself is that what makes you hold on to your past? What is it that has made you hold on to your past for this long? And secondly, is it serving you anymore? Because if it's not serving you anymore, then you need to let go, right? That makes the most sense. So the first point that I had made is that there is a close association between self-compassion and self-forgiveness, right? And the way you treat a friend is how ideally you should be treating yourself. So compare how you treat a friend who's in pain and suffering to how you treat yourself. That's the first point I have made. The second point is that what are the stories that you're telling yourself? What are the beliefs that you have? And are they leading you down to a path of shame and blame? Or are they, helping you move through your pain and move with compassion, with understanding, and helping you to forgive yourself for all, anything that you might have done, intentionally or unintentionally. And the third thing is that, are you able to choose to be willing to let go of your past? That's the third point I had wanted to make, because that's the start of the healing process, right? And I leave you with this in today's session. It's a saying by, again, Louise Hay. I find that, and she says, I find that when we really love and accept and approve of ourselves exactly as we are, then everything in life is turns out to be okay. Right? So that's, I think, a beautiful way to end today's session. And if you like this session, please share with your friends, with your family who would benefit from listening to some of these lessons that you have picked up today. And you can also follow me on and sign up for my weekly podcast episodes. I will be doing a podcast on this topic next week, where I will also share a bit about how you can practice this, how you can practice what I have been discussing today. And I usually have some story to share, or some experience, or a guided meditation to help you with this. So that you can follow me on the podcast at anindita.com/podcast. So you can sign up. And the podcast is called Nourish Heal Connect. It's available on all the various platforms, the main platforms. So I will see you again next week. Till then, bye.